Well, Miss Martin, Miss Templeman, right now you are the only two who are in the meeting, so you're going to get a lot of attention tonight. So we're going to go ahead and start this. I'm going to go over, again, my name is Jay Collins with the Planning Commission, and I'm going to go over just a couple of things with us for the meeting, and then I'm going to hand it over to Andrea Poppendrew, who's going to go ahead and go through some of the specifics for the updated strategies that we have. So I am going to read just a little bit real quick. Good evening again. My name is Jay Collins. With me is Andrea Pompidrew, and we're both with the Planning Commission. Before this meeting starts, I do want to go over a little bit of housekeeping with you. First, we are rescheduling our in-person meetings to September, and we hope to have a date and a time available later this week or early next week. And we're going to send out an email announcement for that, as well as post the signs around in the neighborhood. So the meeting is being recorded, and we're going to send up a follow-up communication with instructions on where and how to actually access that recording. Microsoft Teams has a number of different options. Next slide, please. And that these options allow you to add live captions, change language, on-screen materials, high contrast visibility, and more. All you'd have to do is navigate to the three dots that you see the toolbar at the top of your screen to explore some of these options. You can try out that functionality. Again, if you've attended one of our meetings in the past, you can use the raise hand function. Normally, when we have a lot of people in these meetings, we do the raise hand function as a way in which we line everybody up to who wants to speak. But considering there's just a couple of us, when we're done with the presentation, we'll probably just unmute and have a, around the table kind of conversation. So we welcome comments on the project, and we want to make sure that we document them. So in the chat function, you can write down your comments there. You can ask us questions there, but we also want to make sure that your comments are recorded on the Planning Commission's project website. And then those comments, we would be able to travel with the project as it goes in front of appointed and elected officials. If you have any questions or comments about other aspects of comprehensive planning or basically anything else about development, go ahead and ask questions, and we can direct some of that one of two ways. One, you can reach out specifically to planner@plancom.org. That's just a generic email that'll get you into our system, and then we'll find a way to fish out an answer for you. Or two, you can go ahead and ask us tonight, and we'll go ahead and see what we can do about putting you in contact with the right person. We are here to listen, and we look forward to going over some of these updates, answering some questions, and hearing some feedback. So we got members of Planning Commission staff who are here to answer some of those questions. And I think with that, we can go to the next slide. So one of the things that we do like to do when we have these meetings is we talk about things that are affecting Valrico on the outside, on the inside, right? So things that are right outside of you. And there are two privately initiated text amendments to the Energy Industrial Park land use category. And you can see on this map right there that that's Dover, Turkey Creek, State Road 60. It's a very large, it's a couple thousand acres. And currently there's two amendments. 2315, this one, talks about secondary uses. So basically what you're looking at in this area is to have energy producing uses first, and then other uses after that. It would like to flip that and put the other uses first, then the energy uses. So Planning Commission public hearing is on August the 12th. That is in 601 East Kennedy up on the 18th floor. The public is invited to that and participate in that. September 26th is the Board of County Commissioners transmittal hearing for this. Same thing, 601 East Kennedy. It's on the second floor, and the public as well is invited to come and speak on the issues. Next slide, please. This is HCCPA 2406. It's in the same general area in the Energy Industrial Park, but this is for residential consideration. Today, the Energy Industrial Park does not allow you to build homes out there. This would allow for the opportunity for somebody to build homes in that energy park. So it's a separate amendment, separate process, separate calendar for it, October 14th in front of the Planning Commission, and the transmittal hearing is December the 12th. When I say transmittal, these would have to go to the state up in Tallahassee for review. So after action is taken by the board, if the board does transmit, there will be an adoption hearing, usually a month or two later. Next slide, please. Something we heard a lot from folks out in Valrico. Next slide, please.
Oops, sorry.
That's okay. Something we heard a lot from folks out in Valrico, really throughout all of southern Hillsborough County, eastern Hillsborough County, is traffic congestion that we have out there. So one project that is just now starting between THEA and Hillsborough County, THEA is an acronym for Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority. They are the toll entity that works on the Leroy Selman Expressway, the Veterans Expressway, the reversible lane that you see that runs through Ybor going out to Brandon. What they are looking at now is doing a study to actually do a expressway in the median of US 301. You can see on the map on the screen here, the boundary of that project basically takes you from up at US 301 at the crosstown, running down the crosstown all the way to Big Bend Road. One of the reasons we would like to bring this to the attention of the folks out in Valrico is because there may actually be an exit for this. Again, this is a study, so they don't know where those exits are yet, but there may be an exit at Bloomingdale Avenue for this. Next slide, please. So again, this looks again at congestion issues, safety issues, resiliency, and evacuation along the 301 corridor. And again, Hillsborough County's Board of County Commissioners requested THEA to study this. Now, also the Board of County Commissioners, next slide, please, requested the Planning Commission in conjunction with THEA to look at, before I go into that, how do you actually get more information about this US 301 study? They do have a survey online that you can look at and you can participate in. There is obviously a website. And again, we were going to be out in the community at the library. We had invited them. They were actually going to be out there with us. So hopefully when we reschedule our meeting in September, they'll be able to attend that meeting as well. If you are an HOA, Chamber of Commerce, civic group, and you're interested in more information or having THEA come and actually speak to your organization, please contact them at that email that's provided. Next slide, please. And in conjunction with what THEA is doing, the Board of County Commissioners has asked Planning Commission staff to review and to update the Riverview Community Plan, specifically in the context of US 301, in the case of land use along US 301, as well as some of the mobility options along US 301. Next slide, please. We hope to be out in the community in Riverview in the fall of 2024, perhaps into the winter of 2025, and we expect this to be about a 12-month process. Next slide, please. If you're interested in learning more about that, we've got a website already available for it. You can go there. If you want to read the current adopted Riverview Community Plan, you can find that in the Livable Communities element. And if you're interested in reaching out and contacting the staff planners about that, it's Andrea and I. So by all means, contact us and we'll see what we can do to help you with a little more information about Riverview. And the same thing goes. If you're interested in having somebody come and speak to your community, that would be us. Next slide, please. So I'm going to run through some of this opening really quick now and then hand it off to Andrea. Next slide, please. The Planning Commission has been around since the 1960s, and basically we're an independent multi-jurisdictional planning agency, and we do long-range land use and transportation planning here in Hillsborough County and all of its jurisdictions. So whether it's the city of Tampa, Temple Terrace, Plant City, or unincorporated Hillsborough County. Next slide, please. So again, the hierarchy, the comprehensive plan, community plan is a part of that comprehensive plan within an element called the Livable Communities element. And what are we specifically working with? A vision, goals, a concept map, and the strategies. Excuse me. We've already introduced the vision, the goals, and the concept map, and now we're going to introduce some of those draft strategies to you. Next slide, please. So again, there are 22 current adopted plans. Valrico would be the 23rd. Next slide, please. And a little bit more about that. Community plans are collaborative, provides a communication channel for the community. It's an advocacy tool, and it informs new development. So again, when you're having a rezoning in your community or you're looking for projects to improve, whether they are roadway projects or parks projects, the community plan and the comprehensive plan are one part of a multitude of different regulations and different policies that are reviewed in the county when certain things are being reviewed for your community. Next slide, please. So what doesn't a community plan do? Well, in this instance, we do not build specific structures or specific businesses. We often hear people talk about restaurants or banks that they may want, and they're specific about what they want. We can have a conversation about getting the land use in place or perhaps some policy to support commercial activity, but we wouldn't specifically have a policy that says we're interested in having a steakhouse or we're interested in having a credit union in our community. It does not affect your school district. It doesn't change your address. And in this case, for Valrico, it does not affect zoning or change the land development code. If there is anybody who is interested in specifics for a piece of property, there are other ways that you can go about that to change zonings. Next slide, please. How do you get involved? You're doing it here tonight by actually attending this virtual meeting. In-person meetings, again, we are rescheduling our meeting that got postponed earlier in the week to September. We hope to have that soon. And office hours, where again, we can go out into the community, set up shop, and basically you can drop in and ask us a question. Next slide, please. So what's happened so far? So far, we've had about 250 folks at some of these meetings. We had 12:15 earlier at lunch today. We've had well over 450 survey responses. We do have a new survey that should be coming out here in a couple of days. And that survey is building on the work that you guys have already put in the project. And it's going to ask you some questions about your strategies for your plan. Also, to build to that, we had well over 50 activity sheets. We have had some group activity maps, and we've done 3 presentations specifically to neighborhood groups. If you, again, have a neighborhood group like an HOA, a civic association, chamber of commerce, church group, we would love to have a conversation with you. And we are at that 11th hour right now for public engagement. So if you are a leader of a group, we would love to hear from you sooner rather than later. Next slide, please. What do we do with all of this information, these surveys and the meeting discussion? That's what we use to actually build that community plan. So the vision statement, the concept map, the plan goals, and the strategies. We've gone ahead and gone through it. We've got it now for you. And we'd also like to make a mention to the fact that what we're going to show you tonight has been reviewed by other county agencies. And I think with that, I can now hand this over to Andrea, who's going to go over some of these draft strategies with you. I'll be back when we have some questions at the end.
Thanks, Jay. Good evening, everybody. Andrea Pappenjuru. I'm a senior planner with Plan Hillsborough, working with Jay on the Valrico Community Plan. So on the screen before you is the draft vision for the Valrico Community Plan, and that's based on feedback from previous community meetings, activities, and surveys that Jay mentioned in the earlier slides. So for the draft vision, I'm just going to hit a few highlights. It says the community plan will focus on maintaining Valrico's community character, which includes compatibility of new development, and we'll get into that further in the next few slides. And the plan also envisions the community to have pedestrian-friendly connections, preserve trees, and open space and infrastructure improvements. For the next 5 slides, we're going to show the draft 4 goals and a sampling of some of those strategies proposed for the goals. And I say a sampling because the draft plan is 5 pages long. So we're going to just hit on the highlights for you guys tonight. But Jay is going to post that link in the chat for anyone who wants to view the whole draft goals and strategies. So goal 1 is on infrastructure. Outreach that we've had previously, we've heard from the community that infrastructure needs to keep up with development. More importantly, improvements are needed to reduce traffic and increase safety. Part of that infrastructure improvement is identifying those funding and alternative funding sources. So community plans, as Jay mentioned, that doesn't deal with any changes to your taxes. However, there are other options that we can explore, such as grant opportunities or maybe partnering with a state agency for State Road 60 improvements, as an example. So goal 2 is on development, specifically supporting development that is compatible with Valrico's overall character and its neighborhoods. So for the development goal 2, prior community meetings, residents really indicated to us that new growth coming in needs to be compatible with the existing community. So when we talk about compatibility, what we mean is new development that fits the character of the area. So for example, that could be discouraging some of those, strip mall development patterns. It could be encouraging development and redevelopment to come in with tree protection, plenty of connectivity such as sidewalks, and compatible height and scale with other buildings that are already in the Valrico area. So additionally, with goal 2, we have a strategy on supporting a neighborhood node at the Bloomingdale Avenue and Lithia Pinecrest road intersection, excuse me. So the idea of a node, which is shown on the screen at the pink outline, is not to get rid of what's there today, like the library, the schools, or the parks, but to discuss other uses maybe that could come into this intersection to create kind of that focal point for the community. So this would be an appropriate area kind of for redevelopment, but redevelopment or new development that is compatible with the character of Valrico today. So one of the bullets there is supporting commercial redevelopment and intensification. When we talk about commercial intensification at this intersection, what we mean is maybe future consideration for this area where every parcel is used and it becomes more of the center of your neighborhood for activity. So we don't mean adding more of those commercial intensive uses like mini storage or an auto repair shop. We mean more of, maybe a one-story retail or mixed use office with people living above. And developing that node also kind of addresses the comments that we've heard from folks from other outreach about keeping commercial property away from residential uses. So it would kind of enable the community plan to have, a location where there's a rezoning. The community can say, hey, we identified in our plan, this is where we want the new commercial development to go. And then goal 3 is on mobility, so improving access to walking and biking, safe routes to facilities like schools and parks, and improving the overall transportation network. Those are some common themes we've heard throughout our outreach. So what we really heard from the community is that we need to improve multimodal connectivity. So there's issues like sidewalk gaps and making sure that new development or redevelopment provides sidewalks, designing intersections for pedestrian safety. Themes that we've seen from past surveys are relieving traffic congestion, providing safer crosswalks, sidewalks and bike paths, especially to our schools, our parks, and our public services. And then also the community, you guys have commented on enforcing those truck route regulations. And then the 4th goal is on the environment and recreation. So enhancing existing parks, building a network of sidewalks and bikes to not only reach those parks and those recreation areas inside Valrico, but maybe outside of the Valrico area as well. Stormwater management, so that could be anything from putting a nice trail around a large stormwater pond or improving the natural drainage to the area. So protecting Valrico's environment and specifically tree canopy, providing more park and recreation opportunities. These are specific ideas that we heard at the March community meetings. So for our next steps is taking the input we hear today from our virtual community meetings, and then as Jay mentioned, we're going to have in-person meetings that were rescheduled from the beginning of this month due to the storm. And so all of that input we're going to take and kind of start to refine this draft plan. We're also going to have office hours and a survey coming up in the fall. All of this is leading up to initiating a plan amendment in January 2025. That is our tentative schedule right now. And that would mean that the public hearings would be March or April. So Jay and I have our contact information on the screen. You can reach out to myself or Jay at any time. And as he mentioned, we're also available for any presentation study groups. So I know we went through, a lot really quickly, but Jay and I do want to hear from the community on what you guys think of the draft strategies. And I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen at this point, Jay, so that we can see those questions.
Yeah, thanks, Andrea. So right now, I don't see that we have any comments in the meeting chat. So again, if anyone's online and would like to type a comment or a question in the chat, they can do that. They can also use the raise hand function and we can unmute you if you have a question that you would like to ask.
Yeah, and the raise hand function is at, the top of the Teams bar, and it's a little, little hand. And we are recording this, and we're going to put the this meeting and the presentation on our website as well.
I do see that Ms. Templeman is typing right now, so we'll give that a second.
Looks like we
And then
got a Renee, so I'm gonna go ahead and unmute. Renee, you should be able to unmute yourself now. So Renee, there is a mic icon at the top of the screen. You just need to push that to unmute yourself. And if it's not working and you want to put your question in the chat, we're happy to answer that as well.
Yeah, I can see that both Renee and Mark right now are typing in the chat, so we'll see in a second. Ms. Templeman just simply says that she's looking forward to seeing us in September. We are too. Fingers crossed that the weather holds for the next meeting.
All right, Jay. Mark put, what is the plan related to low-income housing? The economy is pushing more people into this desperate status, and it is always a difficult hot-button issue, parentheses, NIMBY.
So I can speak county-wide on it. Again, there is policy for affordable housing density bonuses that exist county-wide in any residential land use category within the urban service boundary. So whether that's Valrico, Brandon, Riverview, Town and Country, all of those areas would be eligible for the same density bonuses that are afforded for affordable housing. That is pretty much something that the Board of County Commissioners has supported over the years. There is specific areas such as around the University of South Florida that are targeted areas, Palm River Progress Village targeted areas. I don't believe Valrico is within one of those targeted areas and would be treated in the same respects as elsewhere within the county for the simple density bonuses that you can apply for when you go through the rezoning process. And I see Renee is again trying to type.
Okay.
Safe travel paths to schools. Yeah, I'm concerned about the intersection of Mulrennan and Pearson. The additional traffic uh, will be encouraged with the proposal. Yeah, of the 1,900 homes on Dover Road. I think, in the 1,900 homes on Dover Road, I believe what Renee is referring to is the possibility of the energy industrial park amendment and what it might do to Dover Road or Valrico. Renee, I think that those are great comments that should go to the Board of County Commissioners. Again, the planners that are there, Jillian and Melissa, who are on the screen, their contact information, you can go ahead and email them your comments. Those comments will travel with the packet of the amendment through the process. So what you just told us right there, please do email that in and we'll make sure that that gets into the packets. And then again, there is the public hearings that you can also attend.
Yeah, and I just posted their contact info into the chat for you, Renee.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we really thank you for your time tonight. This was a quick meeting. Again, we will be looking to reschedule the in-person meeting, so please stay tuned and look in your email inboxes and hopefully some signs around in your community to advertise that meeting. So, Andrea, anything else?
Well, if any comments, come to you guys, because I know we threw a lot at you, come to you in the next few days, or you can call Jay and I, or you can go on the Valrico Community Plan project page, and we're happy, you can submit a comment there, and we're happy to take that into the record as well. Oh, it looks like we have a couple more folks typing here, Jay.
Okay.
Thank you. Penny said, thank you for all the work you do for us.
We appreciate that. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, thank you all. Have a wonderful night, and we look forward to seeing you in September.
Thank you, everybody.